What's up, folks? This is Joe Bokser with episode 1 of Elaboration of the Philosophy. I'm here with my brother David. What's up, Dave?
What's up, Joe? How you doing today?
I'm doing alright. Woke up a little later than I wanted to, but we're feeling good and we got the day started off right. I guess before we start, I just wanted to kind of preface the goal for this podcast. Really what I want to do with myself and with all of the guests that I eventually have on is kind of share our experiences that we've had in life, and from there we kind of take those experiences and we translate them in our minds as pieces of information that we can use to not only live a better life in the moment each day, but as our personal philosophies always change on a continuous basis, and we use these experiences to kind of sway those changes. So my first question for you, Dave, is what is your philosophy and what experiences led you to the latest shift or change in your philosophy?
Alrighty, Joe. That is a good question. So I live by a lot of philosophies, definitely a new one each day, especially with the books I'm reading. But the main one overall, and it'll sound cliche, is to be the change that you want to see in the world. And what I mean by that is, what do you want to see in the world? Act it out. You want climate change to be handled, then get a metal water bottle. Stop using plastic. It's simpler and more complex at the same time than just voting for people. It has to be done on the individual level in everything you do. And the things that have led me to that, past experiences, I guess, is one, this election. It's a time where everyone thinks that we can solve problems by slapping a name on our chest and our front lawn, instead of actually doing something. So in feeling helpless, I decided that I'm going to help myself in that sense. I'm going to radiate love. I'm going to radiate everything that I want to see in this world in my everyday life. And so I think that's a good philosophy.
Dave, that was fucking wonderful response. I really do agree down to the core and pretty much everything. One of them that I kind of actually like, which kind of bleeds into my philosophy, because one thing I believe is that none of my ideas are really mine. I'm someone who understands that thoughts and feelings and even the experiences we have, they're streams of consciousness that we attach to. And one thing that you said is that you live by a lot of different philosophies, and I know that you not only are starting to study the beginnings of Mandarin in school, but also reading a lot of Eastern philosophy, and I'm just wondering as to I guess, different philosophies that you can point out that you live by, but also how are they all connected? Because I know that they're not really so far out, separate, and different from one another.
Yeah, of course. My philosophies all align in that they are mine, in the sense of, and not mine like you said, with we do use a borrowed language. I didn't make anything up, like every thought I have, whether it's a sentence, an essay, everything is borrowed, and they're from things that I've read, things that I've experienced, and that doesn't come from being alone. That comes from living in a world as inclusive and as vast as ours. And how everything ties in is, I don't know. It's a good question. Another philosophy that I like to live by, and this is another cliche one, but I'm starting to understand Zen more. I'm reading a lot of Chinese philosophy and Japanese philosophy. In specifically, though, that's where Zen comes from China, resides in Japan now. But it's all about living your life to live your life. Nothing more. Like, when you're reading a book, read that book. when you're cooking eggs, cook your eggs.
Yeah.
Stop living 17 steps in the future because it's impossible and it's a trap.
Yeah. I want to elaborate on actually that point. So for me, what I did before starting this first episode was that I wrote down as much as I can, I guess, condense on 2 pieces of paper, because if I kept writing, I would have filled out my whole notebook.
2 big pieces of paper.
2 big pieces of paper. It's like a regular wide ruled notebook. But one thing for me is that I'm a big math guy, and I know that a lot of people may be like, oh, wow, this guy, I'm not going to understand what's going to come next. And maybe you won't, maybe you will, but right now what I'm doing in one of my classes is looking at sequences and where those sequences go as you go into if it's an infinite sequence, as you go towards the infinite, quote, term of the sequence. And 2 different sequences I think of in terms of kind of elaborating to what you just said is a sequence of all of the numbers increasing, 1, 2, 3, 4, going on. And then I think of a sequence of all ones. And for me, if you take each term of the sequence and you think of it as like an experience or an event or a thought or a feeling, when you think of the one that's always increasing, there's no limit to that. But when there's no limit to the things that you, quote, have to do, you'll never really get to where you want to be, because there's all of these things that you, quote, have to do before you do it.
Yeah.
But if you live on the sequence of all ones, it's kind of, you're taking things one thing at a time, and that's where you're bound to always be there, because you're always doing the one thing that you're doing one thing at a time.
Yeah, I completely understand that. Whereas you look at your steps as single steps. You're not looking at them as
the next thing.
Like when you think about it, I guess, in that sequenced way, things become more difficult in concept.
Yeah.
And in that, things become scarier. Like things feel impossible when you think of them like, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, which is harder, and then I'm going to do this, which is harder. Instead of thinking it like those ones, I'm going to get this done, and it's going to make my next step easier, because then that will be the next step, and that will be the one.
Yeah.
And I completely understand that, and I think that's the great thing about philosophy is it's just words describing a lot of the same thing, a lot of similar things, and it goes back to being present and not rushing things. I write that in my journal every single morning, because if I don't remind myself, I go insane, and that is to be patient. Things are coming, things will come, and I'm growing. It may not look like I'm growing if I compare myself to me yesterday, but if I compare myself to me a year ago, it's insane growth. I've gotten into jiu-jitsu. I've changed my major into something that I love. I'm taking classes that I really enjoy, and it is just the start. And I'm an older college freshman, Some people go when they're 30. I'm definitely not that old, 21. But all my friends are graduating soon, and a lot of them don't know what to do, don't know what they want to do. And it's because they never given themselves that time to be patient, to not rush into things, to do things for them instead of all the people that expect them to do these things.
Yeah.
And I'm losing my train of thought, but being patient is the main thing, is effort and patience. Giving all you got, but realizing when you've given it all, and that there's no more to give in this moment. And that you need to enjoy and expect that things will come even when you don't know all of the steps.
Yeah. That's great. That's awesome to hear. One thing, I guess, a question that I had that I made off of my list, of the list that I made off of what I wrote, that kind of ties into this is, what is control? And is there such thing and how, I guess, the concept of control plays in your life. No, I guess that's my question for you, really. Because for me, control, or like a perceived sense of control, is it's counterproductive to like what you truly want.
I think as humans, we are always seeking control, and I think that's displayed in our actions on the long term, on the big picture of things, where technology is getting faster. We're trying to understand as many variables as we can, because we think that ultimately we will see all variables one day. And, I personally don't think that's possible. I think we live in a world that is way too complex for our mind to comprehend all variables. And I think life wouldn't be fun. Life would not be worth living if we knew all the variables, everything that was to come, everything that came before. It's
I think that, I guess in a sense, I think that is true. I think in reality we do, as one, we do know it's not understanding, I guess, because it's not meant to be understood, but it's meant to be felt. Like, feeling it is understanding it, I guess.
Yeah, I think control, too, is something, like I said, that we all seek, and it's something that makes us comfortable. Yeah. And I don't think control is a bad thing. I actively seek to control my day, to control my life, to control, control. And in giving up control, in a lot of, when I'm reading, especially when I'm really in what I'm doing, and giving up control, you kind of realize that, like, the one you need to control is the one that needs to do the controlling. So it's a paradox.
And, it's kind of.
And in giving up control, you kind of giving up control, you're kind of giving it up to yourself.
Giving up control to yourself. So I guess from there, it would it's halfway of a question being the ego as a tool versus like the higher self, but how the ego isn't necessarily bad. It's a tool that is a lot of us don't know how to use, really.
Yeah, some would say that the ego is the higher self in the sense of like thinking logically, and then there's the feeling self, which is instinct. Excuse me. And there's no talent that I don't think one is higher than the other. I think they complement each other in creating the great thing that is the human mind and the human body and the soul and everything we do, this interaction. So the feeling mind and the thinking mind, they go hand in hand, and you can't control the ego with the ego. And you also don't want your ego to control things, because you don't want to. From the ego standpoint, you're alone. Everything outside of you is outside. But from the feeling standpoint, you know that you're nothing without everything around you, everything happening, all people. I am David in relation to you being Joe. Yeah. I am. My skin is soft in relation to the chair being hard. And everything in that sense is relationship. So the ego will lead you to believe that you are alone in this world and that everything outside is outside, when it's not. There's a vast world of energy, that is displayed and expressed through talking, through love, through hate, through all of these feelings that we have that can't be explained in words. Love, hate, happy, sad, like these are such vague terms for what we actually feel in those moments. And that's really what all that they are, is maps. They're like, a map isn't the world. Like, exactly. A map of the world isn't the world. It's a piece of paper. you know,
What
to
shapes
display
on
the
it
world.
To display the world, yeah.
And that's exactly what our words are. You know, our words aren't the world. They're used to describe the world. And
I feel that way about thoughts, feelings,
yeah,
when we kind of describe them. I guess
when we conceptualize
yeah,
them.
you answered my second and third question, which was, what is your view on the dependence of any two given things in the universe? You kind of alluded to that because everything's kind of relational to each other. And also, I was going to ask, what is your perception of your individual experience as well as your perception of the experience of the one, or the collective experience of all beings? And I guess my main question now is, what does a language mean to you, in whatever way you interpret that question? Because you kind of alluded to it.
Language, what does language mean to me? I think language is probably the greatest tool ever invented on the planet. You know, I was going to say by humans, but dolphins use language. Everything uses language. Even when I'm grunting, you know if it's a happy grunt or a sad grunt. That is language. Yeah. You know, it connects us all. And you know, and like you said, like I forgot what the question before that was.
Here.
How do I see myself? Or
I'll read it again. It's, what is your perception of your individual experience as well as your perception of the experience of the one?
So I interpret that question, I guess, in more simpler terms, is who am I? Who do I see myself as? And you know, I see myself as someone that really is fresh. You know, I don't know much. You know, I think we're so young and we have so much to learn. And on the other hand, I pride myself on being someone that does know things, you know, and does, like, I have a strong mind, and you know, don't get me wrong, I go crazy all the time, and that is part of having a strong mind. But I have strong values and things that I live by that ultimately make me happy, which goes back to the whole beginning of this, is be the change. It's true. You have to be the change. You have to, and that's what I pride myself on, is being me, being the guy that wants to save the world, being the guy, and who knows how I'll do it. I may start the biggest non-profit organization in the whole world and save millions, or I might go to a coffee shop and crack someone a smile, and both of those things are changing the world. And that is who I pride myself on being, is somebody that sees the world that way. You know, I'm not going to wait until I have $1 billion to save the world, because I probably won't ever have $1 billion.
No reason to
because
wait
there's no reason to wait. Every smile, every how are you doing, every holding the door, everything is so powerful, and it changes the world, literally changes the world. And you know, that's what I see myself as. I see myself, I don't know what I'm going to do exactly. I want to write, or I think I want to write, and I want to study geography, and I think I want to map out the world. But on the simplest of terms, I know that I want to be a good person. I want to be a friendly person. I want to be a safe person. I want to be somebody that acts on behalf of the good. And I think that doesn't take money. You know, that doesn't take a powerful position. It doesn't take being a doctor to do that. It takes being a human being that is a human. Like, it takes being anybody that is anybody can do that. And you know, that's something I think you see a lot in poverty too, is you know, people that have nothing oftentimes are more appreciative. You know, whereas like people that have everything, that were growing up having everything, feel entitled. They feel separate in this world. You know, they live in big houses all alone. Mm-hmm. And you know, so that being said, you don't need anything to be who you want to be now. You know, Like you don't need. There's no waiting.
Tangible.
There's no such thing as waiting because no other time exists.
Agreed. Yeah.
You know, not the past, not the future. There is only right now.
I guess I was going to segue into a different question, but now since you said that, I'm going to ask you a different question from that question. And I guess it's more of alluding to living in presence or being as present as you can, and kind of I said in my notes, I wrote presence versus the anxious / depressed superposition, or the memory / imagination land. But I guess it's more of the relationship between presence and being present with the superposition of anxiety and depression by looking through your memories and foreshadowing the future based off of the memories that aren't so great.
Yeah, I mean, we are creatures of prediction, you know, so based on, like you said, based on our past, we predict the future, and we expect things to happen, and in expecting things to happen, a lot of the time, we create things. You know, if I expect I'm gonna trip and fall today, and I know for sure that I'm gonna trip and fall today, guess what? I'm probably gonna trip and fall. You know, that because it's a self-fulfilled destiny. And anxiety comes from that. Anxiety comes from thinking that you know the future that is unknown, that is unwritten. And, you know, and unfortunately that has a lot to do with trauma and horrible experiences that I'm, quite frankly, I'm insanely lucky that I don't have a lot of that. You know, and it allows me to do all these things and see all these things because of how lucky I am, because I didn't have to go I didn't have to ever really trade my self-worth to make sense of my world. You know what I mean? It's like to think I deserve things, you know, because I think I deserve good things because mostly good things have happened to me. You know, yeah, there's bad things, you know.
There's always good and bad.
There's horrible things. There's horrible things. And there's just as much good in this world as there is bad. And bad will never win, you know, but good will never win either. And that comes in with patience, too, and accepting that, you know, just because things are bad doesn't mean that you can't be good. You can't bring that into your world. And anxiety plays a big role in that. You know, I have anxiety, especially when I'm worried, oh, what am I going to do? I have this many semesters left, and I'm going to be this age, and I have this, and I have that, and I have a girlfriend, and I have no money, and, you know, and I constant anxiety.
It's constant anxiety about the situation that you were in. I struggled a lot with that with my ex, with Rachel. It's the one thing that I always thought about, and since I always thought about that,
something under the door for you, ma'am.
Since I always thought about that, it led me down the path of really not being in a good place and not doing things for me, and it really put me in a place of projecting a lot of my thoughts and projecting the pressure that I would put on myself because I wasn't in the ideal situation that I thought I would be in when I was thinking about wanting a girlfriend for so long to experience that. And then I fucked myself, basically. Not to say that the experience wasn't great, because it's the greatest thing it's been one of my greatest teachers, and I'm very grateful for Rachel being the person that I've experienced it with.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
And now it's kind of that, it kind of all ties into just like relieving the pressure off of the self.
Yeah,
because
letting yourself live.
Yeah, because there are so many factors that we want to address all at once, even though it is impossible to address them all at once. It's impossible to address anything.
Goes back to the numbers.
Yeah,
you know?
you
can't look at all the variables. You can only take it one at a time. So in that sense, everything is one.
Yes.
You know, everything is always going to be your one. You know, today my one is doing the podcast, going to work, and then doing something else that I have to do after work. You know, and these are those are my ones. You know.
Yeah.
On top of that, early in the morning, I read a lot. I wrote. At night tonight, I'll probably read a new novel that I got from Aunt Cherry that I love, that I just started a couple days ago, and that's my one. And then tomorrow it'll be a new one. And some of the things will be the same, like reading and writing in the morning, and I have work, and then I have class. But these things are getting me to where I need to go. I don't need to do crazy things that don't feel right to get where I want to go, because doing things that don't feel right don't ever get you to a point of feeling right.
Exactly. You literally took that thought out of my head.
You know, like you want to feel right in the future? Great. Do things that feel right now. You don't have to kill yourself for money now to be happy in the future. Because guess what? You're going to kill yourself now, you're going to have money, and you're not going to know how to live because you never tried it out. Because you've been telling yourself you're going to wait, you're going to wait, you're going to wait. And then how long can you wait? Till you finally wake up. You know, till you finally want to be happy. 30, 40, 50, 60. 70. How long can you wait?
Yeah.
You know, till the moment you take your last breath and you realize,
none of that
shit,
mattered, yeah.
Life was greater and simpler than I made it out to be. You know, so you got to do what feels right, really, you know. And some, of course, you know, you got to go to the DMV and you got to call the insurance company and you got to do shit that feels like shit. You got to call Apple when your phone doesn't work and sit on hold for 20 hours. And you got to do the dishes, but all those things can be done from a different point of view.
Agreed. The
point of view of Zen. All right, I'm gonna call Apple. So what am I gonna do while I call Apple? I'm gonna call Apple. I'm not gonna worry about all this jerk off, this and that, he's putting me on hold, and no one does their job, because guess what? Everyone's doing their job, really. You know? Their job isn't to help David Bokser solely. I'm not the king of the world, you know, and it's hard to remember that when you're speaking to somebody on the other side of the help desk, like, and you know, a lot of the time we rush to that conclusion of people aren't doing their jobs, and I'm so guilty of it, so insanely guilty of it.
Yeah.
You know, and in thinking that we're not doing our jobs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like their job. It's
projection. You know.
Yeah.
It's all projection. Even all of it, good, bad, any articulation of like any thought or feeling. The negative ones are more. I feel like negative, like established thoughts and feelings that you put out there, especially towards someone. I didn't realize it growing up because I did a lot of projecting and there was very little self-awareness. And looking back at the times that I would not speak or I would say things that were not the nicest, and like I think it was justified. Like I had there was logic behind it. And like thinking now, it's just like it's all projection. Like I knew that I was not in a good place. But when you turn that off and ignore it, instead of saying this might be the answer to my problem.
Yeah, you give the wheel to it. You know, you're like, here, you drive.
Yeah.
You know, when you push it to the side. It's you know, in not choosing to not look at things, you give them control. You give them, it's like
you let that the energy of that situation radiate, because you're putting it in this box.
Yeah, you rationalize it.
You rationalize it, and then you put it in this box where, like, cool, like, it's gonna be contained until you realize that the box was never really containing it at all, because the box isn't real. And if the box was real, energy radiates through fucking everything anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and these are things that I've learned, especially from doing mushrooms.
Yeah.
And from a lot of time spent alone. You know, I've learned like to be myself.
Yeah.
You know, living in California for almost 2 years was such a good thing because I went to the grocery store in my baggy pants and my cool hat, and I didn't give a shit because no one else gave a shit.
Yeah.
You know, but here, even being here, even after learning what I've learned, I still am hesitant. I'm still, you know, just like, I'm not going to go in the store like this with my hair going crazy. Where in California, I would have. You know, and that's something I need to unlearn myself. It's something it's something I've lessened for sure. I remember being a kid and just like putting on a shirt that I freaking loved but wasn't sure about, but I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't sure about it.
And you put it back in the closet.
And 100 times out of 100, I didn't wear it.
Yeah.
You know, 1,000,000 times out of 1,000,000, I didn't wear it. Like, there is. And now I do what I want. I wear what I want, you know. And of course, the ego's always there. You know, everything you put on, you want people to see it. Especially if you love it. You want people to see it.
Yeah, you want people to.
You don't want to wear your best outfit while you're sitting home doing homework all day alone.
Exactly.
You know, unless you do. You want to wear your comfiest outfit, but maybe not your best.
Yeah.
And that goes back to using the ego as a tool and aligning it with your feelings. You know, there's a thinking brain and there's a feeling brain, but in reality, they're one brain.
Yeah, it's one.
You know, it's one brain, and if you work to align the two, like, all right, great, I want to help the earth. I want to not use plastic, one-use plastic. I want to value the things that I have and use them to their max and live a life of sustainability. And in aligning my ego with that, I want people to see me as that guy.
Yeah.
You know, and that is using your ego as a tool.
Yeah.
You know, I want people to see me as somebody that radiates love, somebody that is a helping hand, somebody that is a safe place to talk to be around, to sit in silence, anything.
Yeah.
And I want people to see me as that because I want to be that.
Yeah.
And that alignment allows me to do those things, you know, without the ego stress, without the, I'm supposed to be this, I'm supposed to be that, I'm supposed to get a good job, and I'm supposed to have a kid by 25, and I'm supposed to. You're not supposed to do anything. You know,
Yeah.
we're here. Humanity has lived for freaking millions of years, and we've lived other lives. Like, our energy has been in other lives. So you don't have to
somewhere else.
You don't have to do anything because you have unlimited time, really, and you have, you know, this life is meant to have fun, you know, and so is the last life, and so is the next life.
Yeah, I guess that segues. I just wanted to stop you because I'm going to ask you the question on, I guess, the relationship and I guess the conceptualization of experience and kind of, I guess, quote opposing life and death, and the conceptual life and death, like spectrum, I guess, because I feel that, I guess, in the spectrum of experience, in just being, really, because what I've come to it's as, like, when I feel that I resonate with the word being for when a lot of people say that we're human for certain things. I kind of feel that that's more the being part, and just in my mind, it doesn't really, it's whatever it is, you know, to whoever, but for me, we are human beings. I feel the human part is the physical form that we are contained in this experience, and we only call it the human being because that's the tools that we've created to come up with that name for it. You know, the pigs are pigs being.
They're people. Like, they're like tree people, you know, like everything is experiencing itself as itself. in the same sense that I experience myself as David, you experience yourself as Joe. And, you know, at the very least, thinking about life this way is more fun. It's more comfortable. You know, why would I want to think that the trees don't have life and that everything else is hostile and that we're living in the cog of the machine? That is not real. Like, it's not separate parts that act alone. You know, it's relationship, it's everything, and yet it is a machine. You know, everything. Now,
I guess more so in the sense of what many describe as a machine in terms of a technological sense. That is where the Earth as one is kind of going.
Yeah, and
it's here. It's already here. You know, like it's like I said, like it's already a functioning cyborg computer. It's not necessarily bad, but it definitely creates a whole different reality that, you know, many people are kind of stuck in. And then there are people who realize that there's a reality that people are stuck in, and it's something to not be stuck in. I had this thought yesterday. Now, more than ever, people, I feel, it's like, oh, if anyone has seen The Matrix, I haven't. I haven't seen The Matrix.
Good friggin' movie.
I don't watch movies. I'm like the least.
You should watch movies. Bro.
I'm the least movie person there is.
There's friggin' art.
But I know that for a lot of people, like it was in a movie, so like there's no way it's real. But then when you look at it, it's like, okay, there's a bunch of technology. There are cell towers with these computers that we have now in our hands that are always on. There's always frequencies being shot from every phone, not just your phone, but every phone, to that cell tower, possibly even when it's dead and off. Definitely when it's off, possibly when it's dead.
It's always in connection.
So, like, that creates a new physical reality that just because people can't see it, it's like, oh, then it's not there. But it's felt.
Yeah.
You know, like you can't.
Like I wrote an essay for English this semester. It was due literally on Monday. I sent it in, and it was about my thesis was basically about television and furthermore the increase in information technology and entertainment technology and how that's causing a major shift in our perception of the world. And I had one of my body paragraphs was all about these things, that they are a drug. You know, it's not a pastime. It's a drug. In that it's not like we bring our perceptions into TV and we get entertainment and then we shut it off and then it's over. No, you shut it off and it is changing your perception. It's changing how you see the world. It's changing the very essence of who you are and what world you live in based on the things that you are experiencing through television, through Instagram. You know, Instagram and Twitter, and they're made to get you mad. They're not made to teach you things. You know, they don't show you things because they think you're going to learn something and be a better person. The algorithm doesn't work like that. The algorithm works on what's going to keep you engaged. You know, Alan Watts has a great saying, and it's in one of his books probably, or it's in one of his many lectures that I've heard. It says, when you get the message, hang up the phone. You know, and what I take that as is when I'm reading and I'm in the flow and I'm like, yes, this is the best, and I'm reading about life and I'm like, all right, now I'm ready to live life. Close the book and live. And that is not that's easier said than done with an iPhone in your hands. Yeah. You know, I felt it last night where I was at 12 o'clock at night, I was going to hop on my phone and I was like, maybe let me read. You know, this great novel that I have. You know, because it's hard for me to read, especially after I smoke. It's hard for me to read a lot of what I do read, which is like information and Zen and different concepts.
It's not. There's.
But
no,
it's not
like,
getting lost in a story. And literally,
Exactly.
I'm living in another world reading this book. I'm living in the slums of India as this guy that is traveling, and he's a fugitive, and he just broke out of prison. He's the most wanted guy in Australia. Like, I'm living as him, and that's magic. It really is truly magic. But yesterday, I had my phone in one hand and the book in the other, and I felt myself drawn to YouTube. It was like, I actually felt it. It was crazy, and I put it down because I was aware of that feeling. But oftentimes I'm not. I'm not, the thought doesn't go further than me whipping out my phone, my fingers moving before my thoughts, and it's like, boom, I'm on YouTube, I'm watching JRA. Boom, I'm watching fails. Boom, I'm watching people jump out of planes and shit. Which is cool. That's freaking awesome. And luckily those are my preferences. I've tried to model what I listen to, what do I enjoy based on who I want to be. So I don't watch a lot of nonsense. And I also don't think nonsense is wrong. My novel technically is nonsense. It's just entertainment. Movies are nonsense, but they're not.
I also think that.
I think Twitter is nonsense. I think Instagram is nonsense. When you're all you're seeing is ass and titties and Biden Trump bullshit, and people posting 1 out of 900 pictures that they've taken. If I post something, which I don't have anything to post on, but if I did, and when I did, what I would post, especially in the recent years, was me. One picture. However it came out. I liked it, I didn't like it, I didn't like it. Then I didn't post it. But if I liked it, I posted it. I'm climbing mountains, I'm going hiking. Not for the picture.
Not for the picture.
Not for the one picture that I'm going to take. Because it is only one picture. It captures the moment so much better. Am I going to sit there, oh, that's a cool rock, let's take a picture there. Oh, that's a cool view, let's take a picture there. Let's go there, let's pose there, let's do that, let's do this. No. Climb the mountain, enjoy yourself, think, look at your surroundings, and when you see a nice view, look at it. For more than 1 second before whipping out your phone. And that's something I've had to teach myself. Because of the age we grew up in. Of this, if you didn't get the picture, you weren't even there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so many people think
that's
like
also
that.
For others too, like
oh
that.
Yeah, it's all for others. It's not
crazy. It's crazy because I feel so much of that social media grievance, I guess, with it. But I've also come to realize, and who made me realize this was listening to Gary Vee.
The goat.
Social media is not the root of the problem like we think it is.
No, it's a symptom.
And it's all
the ego's been around,
All of it is a symptom, and they're all tools that we can use as great things, and that's why I'm on Instagram now doing Nikki's challenge. I've been taking videos most days, and the days that I haven't taken videos, I try to take a video of multiple days to recap what I've done and to also talk about how I feel. And not only that, social media is the reason why I have a very accessible platform to where I have to do very little work to do this, what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, get a mic, plug it in, record, and post.
Yeah.
And that's, you get ideas out, and you really, it's amazing. It's amazing what can be done on social media, and it's also scary what can be done on social media, and how simple it is to change the perception of people. And that's both for good and for bad. It depends if what kind of perception do you want to change. You want to change people into living sustainably, doing things for themselves, enjoying themselves, being able to be alone without your phone on, those type of messages, those type of goals are, are great. And, yes, that's what I want to see in the world, and other people want to see different things, but I think that's basic, I don't want everybody to be the same. I don't want everybody to do this one thing or do that one thing. I want everyone to be themselves.
Yeah.
And that's not advertised. That's not, no, it's look at these Victoria's Secret models. You don't look like them. But if you buy this, you will.
The conditioning is
look at this jacked guy in the Nike hat. If you buy the Nike hat, you're gonna look just like him, and it's like, it's fucking bullshit.
Yeah,
it's major bullshit.
The problem with it is that there's idealistic standards created to where a lot of people really want to be that, but not because they want to, but because they have seen something that looks good and they want to identify with looking good or being attractive. And for me, like, I've come to realize that attractiveness for me has gone less and less for physical appearance wise. There are bombshells both male and female, but if they can't hold a conversation or if they don't like to get too deep, for me it's not good. I'm someone who tries to get deep with people and tries to...
You're not looking for a quick fuck.
I'm not looking for a quick...
But that doesn't mean you're not looking for a fuck.
Exactly.
Everyone's looking for a fuck. Since we were single-celled organisms, all we did was reproduce. We're designed to do that. And I feel you on that. I feel you. There's been people that I'm like, wow, that girl's beautiful, and then she says one thing, and you're just like, no, she's not. Because beauty goes beyond looks. Beauty goes beyond how big your ass is and how tight your waist is and how big your chest muscles are and how thick your beard is.
And how
beauty
how much
is
body
in connection.
Fat you don't have.
Beauty is in connection. And it's in what feels right. A lot of the time you feel things that you can't explain, especially with others. Especially like you have standards that are put on you by the world, that it's like, oh, I wanna be seen with this kind of person, or I wanna be this kind of person, and I wanna, and they're impossible standards. Not everyone is gonna be 7 feet tall. Like somebody like me understands, and also not everyone's going to be skinny like I am, which I consider myself lucky. I'm flexible. I can do things that a lot of people cannot. I picked up stretching. I picked up jiu-jitsu. A lot of these things this year, and I'm young. Luckily I've done that. And a lot of people don't realize these things until later in life. And a lot of the times, if you're 75 and you never stretch, like, you're gonna have a cane.
You're gonna be tight. You're gonna be.
It's gonna be tough because you need to move. You need to use it or lose it. And I'm insanely lucky in a lot of ways, and I'm insanely unlucky in a lot of ways. I'm not humongous. I'm a light motherfucker. Yeah, I am trained a little bit, I'm more trained than the average person, I would say. But still, if a guy that's 6'5", 350 comes up to me, there's not much jiu-jitsu I'm gonna do. I'm gonna fucking run. Like, if some jacked motherfucker Brock Lesnar looking guy,
he might catch you.
Yeah, well, that's Brock Lesnar. But like, I'm gonna get tossed. I'm going to get tossed as easily as I can pick up this sock and throw it, and that's a disadvantage. And, and
life is full of them.
And you make, full of advantages and disadvantages and love that can't be understood.
Yeah.
And like, maybe you love people you're not supposed to. Maybe you like, and what does that mean? What does it mean you're not supposed to? Those are societal standards. I'm not supposed to love this person because they're black and my mom said this and that, or like I'm not allowed to love this person because they're a guy and I'm a guy. You know, and like those are societal standards that we put on ourselves. They're constructs. They're fake.
Yeah.
They're bullshit. Like if you love somebody, love them. You know, don't try to explain yourself out of the rabbit hole of feeling like, because you're never going to.
Yeah.
You're just going to trap yourself. You're going to
Yeah.
get lost and you're going to reject love. You're going to reject yourself. And it's going to be harder to connect. You know, you have to be open to things. You have to be open to the idea that you can love someone on a soulmate level and not want to have sex. You can have sex with someone and not love them. You can talk to people when you have a girlfriend. And not saying talk to people like, hey, let's fuck, let's do this. Like, talk to people more like,
Engage
hey, how are you doing?
Like,
oh, I'm
yeah,
good.
but-
Oh, let's talk about blah, 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 blah. Whatever it is.
I feel
But-
when, especially seeing like people that I haven't seen in a while, and this year has definitely been for me the year of reconnection and trying to reconnect with a lot of people that I have lost that connection with. And wow, I lost my train of thought. What was I going to say?
I'm sorry I
No,
interrupted
no,
because
it's okay.
I
It's
gotta
okay.
go to work. I gotta go to work soon.
It's okay. I guess in terms of like reconnection, what'd you say before? I guess so I can try and catch.
I said that you can talk to people.
Yeah, like for me, I'm trying
That's all
to
it
go into these conversations. Like, I'm not trying to like ask someone how they're doing and then we read off the list to each other, which is something that you and I talked about probably yesterday or 2 days ago. Just like, I want to know how you are. Like, my
Right
old
now.
friend, yeah, like my old friend who I still keep in contact with, Victoria. I haven't seen her in 6 years before I first initiated communication and then started talking. Sure, we both read the list off to each other because we didn't see each other in 6 years. But after that, it was like, alright, this is me at 19 years old, but also me from ages 9 to 13 asking you how you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, with all the people that I go to high school, that I've gone to high school with, it's not, oh, how are you doing? You read me the list, I read you the list, and then it's done. It's, how are you doing? Like, what the fuck has been up? Because, like, that's the deal.
Yeah,
There's nothing...
you said something to me a couple days ago, and it stuck in a lot of ways. And I was talking about, because Matt was going to Tom's house, people to hang out with people we haven't seen in a long time. And I was also invited. And I went to their party a while ago, but this recent one I didn't go to, and it's because the last one you're just reading off the list, and I was saying that, and it was a very negative perspective that I had. And something you said was, the conversation goes there because you brought it there. You know, like, when someone asks how you're doing, you can either say, oh, I'm doing good, I'm in school, I'm this, I'm that, I'm working here, I'm working there. Or you can say, I'm doing good, I had an awesome day. You can be you, who you are now.
Exactly.
You know, you are not what you do, or you know, you are what you are right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that I thought about for days, and something that was very eye-opening for me, you know.
Yeah.
And it wasn't maybe in the moment as much as it's been
After.
thinking about it,
Yeah.
and now especially, you know, becomes more and more.
Yeah.
But you know, that's the whole thing. You control like where your conversations can go and how you want to connect.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something you can't blame others for. You know, you can't blame others for a bad conversation, because guess what? You're part of that conversation.
Agreed.
Two makes a conversation.
Agreed.
And, you know, with that being said,
I think we'll end it here. David,
with that great
Thank you.
conversation of
Thank
me,
you.
who I am now at 12:36 on Tuesday, October 15th. And you know, that's who I am now. And for episode 2, whenever that may be, I'll be who I am then.
I just want to say thank you.
I want to say thank you.
Of course, not only for, being here right now, but also more so than pretty much anyone on the planet has been here for the entire ride. So,
Thank you, my boy. Thank you, for the same exact thing.
of course, I love you very much. I'm very grateful, and I guess that will be the end of episode 1 for all who listened. Thank you very much,
Nice.
and
I love you too, my boy.
And I will see you very soon with my next guest.
Awesome.